Now, we continue now with our coverage of the tributes that continue to flood in for the late minister in the presidency, Minister Jackson Mthembu. Joining us now is a social development minister, Minister Lindiwe Zulu. Mam Zulu, good to be talking with you once again today. And I was saying just earlier on that one thing that is for certain is that we are a nation in mourning. The passing of Minister Jackson Mthembu was unexpected in all sorts of ways. When last did you have any sort of interactions with him?
I had interactions with him just when he fell ill, and that was the last time I spoke to him. That's almost 2 weeks ago, and I'm actually much more pained because I'm beating myself and thinking I should have spoken to him as often as possible, especially because he was not only a comrade for me, not only was he a minister to me in the cabinet, but also he was my chomi, and so I'm beating myself for that. But here's the fact: we never expect these things to happen, even when we know that death always comes knocking on our doors. And then Jackson Mthembu, I must say, was the last person that one would have thought that he would be gone by now. In fact, it only started hitting me much more in the morning when I woke up, because yesterday I was caught in the whirlwind of everyone talking this side and statements and everything. When I got the message, I kind of like thought it's like Comrade Jackson himself announcing somebody else's death, because what we know of him, he was always on the front line of communication for the African National Congress, but also for us in government. So it took me quite a while to absorb what has happened. And like I say, it was really only in the morning when I woke up that I actually shed tears then, because that's when I really realized what has happened.
Mam Zulu, what are you going to remember most about, as you say, umngani wakho?
I'm going to remember him for his big, big heart. Jackson had a big heart where even if you had been having arguments about one thing or the other at one moment, the following day or time down the line, it would be like you never had an argument. That's the first thing. I'm also going to remember him from being steadfast in his commitment to his family, by the way, because as we are now dealing with his passing, it's not long ago we're dealing with the death of his own daughter, and myself and him were sharing the experiences as to what needs to be, sharing his experience as what needs to be done from a social development point of view, particularly on issues of psychosocial support and all that. And we were having the conversations, and he was saying to me, umsebenzi wakho lo mngani wami, so kuwo manje wokufuneka umake sure ukuthi bonke abantwana they are just taken care of from that point of view. I will also remember him for his communication skills. If there's one thing he had, is that of being a communicator of note, who always wanted things to be simplified. And I say this because I worked with him as way back as pre-1994, when we were preparing for the first democratic elections, when we were together in the communications of the African National Congress. Jackson always wanted us to simplify things. And the reason why he wanted us to simplify things was simply because he always wanted the message to get to the people. And because he was so committed to improving the lives of the people, he was always wanting us to simplify it. But at the same time, he wanted the message to get to whoever it needs to get to, whether it's journalists, whether it's rallies of the ANC, whether it's door-to-door work that we needed to do. That's what I will remember him for. But more than anything else, I will remember him for his commitment towards building a better South Africa, but also strongly, in fact, more importantly, the building of institutions of governance. Comrade Jackson and I go a long way when we didn't know what passing of legislation was about, except for the fact that some of us who had had an opportunity to go to university had been able to learn what it is. We all started not knowing what will happen when we get to legislatures, how to pass bills, all the things that we now take for granted. Comrade Jackson at the time was the speaker in the province of Mpumalanga, and I was the deputy speaker of Gauteng. I remember him for his commitment in particular. This one thing that you always used to say at the time was that we must build institutions of governance because the people of South Africa must have institutional recourse when they're not happy about one thing or the other, or when they are confronted by things that have to be dealt with by government. We then have to make sure that institutions are very strong. But his laugh and his heartily laugh is what I will miss most.
You pointed to something very profound there. The fact that you, along with him, were very much the first generation of post-apartheid leadership in South Africa, and how you had to learn the ropes as you went along. You were not raised in that type of institution, from revolutionaries to being politicians and statesmen, and having to learn along the way. So thank you so much, Social Development Minister Lindiwe Zulu, there for sharing what you remember of, as you call it, umngani wakho. There is the Social Development Minister, Lindiwe Zulu. And some breaking news that I'd like to share with you, that it has been confirmed that the funeral service of Minister Jackson Mthembu will be taking place this very Sunday. Let me read this press statement that comes through. Late Minister in the Presidency honoured with an official funeral Category 1. The late Minister in the Presidency, Jackson Mthembu, will be honoured with an official funeral Category 1 at his home in Emalahleni, Mpumalanga, on Sunday, the 24th of January 2021. And the state official and provincial funeral policy accords official funerals Category 1 to serving ministers. The national flag will be flown at half-mast at every flag station in the country from tomorrow morning, which is the 23rd of January, until the evening of the day of the funeral on the 24th of January 2021. To Minister in the Presidency, Minister Jackson Mthembu, Lala Ngoxolo Mvelase.